Aloha and welcome to the Aloha Friday with the Sandwich Islands Social Network. This is Kamaka Brown. Right over here, we always look forward to great conversations on our Aloha Friday show. Thank you so much for jumping on in. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. My goodness, we're on Twitter and we're also on Twitch. So welcome to all of our friends that are jumping in and joining us today on the Aloha Friday show. We do want to say that Friday, October 20th, which is today, the Makaha Sons are going to be in Downey, down at Downey, California. They're at the Downey Theater. And so if you haven't got your tickets, pick them up. Downey.org is where you can go. And sponsored by HIC Lifestyle, those great folks over at HIC. So, welcome to the Aloha Friday show. Now, the Aloha Friday show is a series of interesting conversations sharing the lives and journey of people in our community, our island community, no matter where they may be. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization serving Hawaiians and Hawaiians at heart away from their island home, and we gratefully accept tax-deductible donations to support the work we do in the community. And you will see there on the upper right-hand corner of your screen, sandislands.org is where you can go to find out how you can be part of our ohana that supports the Sandwich Islands Social Network. So here we go right now with the Aloha Friday show. How's it? It's a beautiful Aloha Friday. And I know no matter where you are, wherever there's Aloha, it's always beautiful. You know what? I've been really looking forward to this conversation, this Vala'au, with this gentleman over here. I have been a big fan of him since my teenage years and stuff. In fact, no tamo baria, from Surfer Magazine, I will pull out the picture of this guy and put him up on my wall. Mr. Pipeline. No, man, Baga was amazing. And all of us young guys was looking at this brother. He is Mr. Pipeline, the legendary surfer, Mr. Gerry Lopez, who is in our, just coming out of our virtual green room over there. How was the sushi platter we would get from Kozo Sushi? Was it okay?
Oh, sushi always good, bro. Aloha kamaka. Thank you. I cannot tell you how honored and humbled I am that you would consider to have me on your show like this. So I want to mahalo.
Oh,
Thank
brah. Brah, the slipper is on the other foot, my friend. The slipper is on the other foot. We are so grateful and so thankful you took time out of your busy schedule. Now, I know you are a Bend, Oregon resident right now, but you are in Texas at this particular. What city? Where are you in Texas?
Oh, we're in Austin.
Austin, Texas. All right. And so thank you. I know you're there to take care of business and doing what you do best, but taking time to hang out with us is so beautiful. Now, we cannot go any further without first recognizing that we do have certain protocol. Every place you get protocol, right? So first of all, if you look in the back, in the trees, if you look really closely, we get a couple Portuguese menehunis, and they blow the conch shell, which is welcoming our guests. So we get menehuni, the Portuguese menehuni number one that has to blow his conch shell. That's the first conch shell to welcome you, brother. And then we get his cousin right over there. Now you have been welcomed officially there, Gerry, to the Aloha Friday show. Yep.
Thank you, Kamaka. It's good to be here.
And then,
Let's talk some story.
All right. Then what we also have our friends that are going to jump in, and they like to say hello, and we're going to acknowledge them. So before we get started, I'm going to acknowledge our friends that have popped in right now. And so first of all, we get Nancy Lewis. Nancy saying, "Aloha, Kamaka Brown and Gerry. Aloha to my on the porch ohana who may be here as well." There's Nancy. She lives in Anaheim, Anaheim, California. Thank you for joining us. Here's Brother Marty Burns. Aloha kako on this beautiful Friday. What's up, Marty? Good to have you with us, brother. Let's get jump in. And here's Johnny Rocks Hollywood from beautiful downtown Waikiki. My good buddy Johnny, a stand-up comic. Aloha, Johnny is saying from the Aina. My goodness, here's Kay Bennett from the West Wing. Aloha, ohana. Hey, como mai, come inside. Let's talk story, Jerry Kay says. And let me see who else. Oh, I think we can grab them all. If I miss you, kalamai, sorry. I'm not ignoring you. I'm a coolie. I can see it all. Oh, goodness. Let me see, someone else just joined us. Oh, C Honda. C Honda is over here too. C Honda is she's saying a little bit volume needed for Jerry. So either come a little bit more close to the computer where you stay, Jerry, or no scared speak up so they can hear you. Because C Honda helps me out and she gives me tips on Kamaka, you are upside down, or I can hear you. So thank you, C. I love it because that's part of our ohana. They want to make sure that everything is pono on the broadcast over here. All righty then. So first of all, let's get this out of the way, bro. Punahou graduate. You went to private school, and I told you first off, man, I went down the road at Roosevelt High School on the other end of Nihoa. The Rough Riders and the Buff and Blues were competitors, public school against private school. We used to go over and do some dastardly deeds over on the campus. But I have to tell you, the statute of limitations have gone, so I don't think they're going to arrest us for our the stuff we did with the shovels and picks on the track over there. So I think we're good, right, Jerry? Please tell me that. Okay. So, Jerry, we were talking earlier before we came on, brought up on the east end of Honolulu, Neo Valley side. And it was there in the 60s and in the 60s. Recreation for the boys was surfing. You go out and just enjoy. You were hanging out on the east end as well, and then gradually kind of moved over to Waikiki side, Kewalo Basin, Ala Moana, Taula Bowls, all those places we used to go. At the time, did you ever think that this would eventually morph into a lifestyle, a career that would influence your path when you're paddling out on your board to catch the next wave?
Never. In those early days, it was just you went with your friends, you went with your brother, you went with your whoever, and you just went to have fun. And then when it was POW, that was it. You went home, and you never really, thought that much about even the next time until you got to go again. And there was none of the seriousness that seems to be so prevalent in surfing today. It was just recreation. You just let's go surfing. Okay, that's just like, let's go ride bike, go store. Something that you just did. And of course back then, even in Hawaii, I don't think there was a whole lot of seriousness, even from the good surfers. Of course, they always wanted to be there when the waves were good, but there wasn't any really way that you were going to think about making a living by going surfing. Surfing, according to my parents, was just waste time. So that was a general consensus at that time.
Sure.
And, it wasn't really until much later on that, of course, when surfing, started to grow and become a much bigger sport. But when I started, it was a very small sport, and it was just go have fun.
Yeah. I may take umbrage to your statement that it wasn't even on your mind. Here's a picture of you and your grandmother, and I'm looking at your stance right there. You see one foot in front of the other like that. That already, right, said to me, you already forget on a board. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
Oh, you know what, Kamaka? I never noticed that before, but yeah, look at that goofy foot.
a goofy foot, bro.
Yeah.
But you're very so very howly looking, very blonde hair almost, so kind of uh, pulling on your dad's side. You're very fair complected. Baby, look at this, man. With this determined look. Here's you. What? Here's you and your brother. What? Now you guys are down a beach. Look at you two guys, man.
Up in Queens.
Queen Surf. Uh, you guys look scrappy, man. You guys like the two brothers, man. I think I love. Uh,
Yeah, that's my brother Victor, and we both went surfing together the first time with my mother. She took us.
yeah.
I was 10, he was 8, and that was it. I didn't realize it at the time, and maybe not for quite a few years that I was hooked.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
And he was the one who actually started his surfing career, actively before me. He had the first surfboard, and he used to go with his friends.
Okay. All right. Here's Laura Bauer from San Diego. Aloha from San Diego. Welcome, Laura. Oh, his brother right over here, Kavika Kayapo. Kavika. Oh, man, there's a
Hey,
yeah.
Kavika, how's it, brother? How's it? How's it?
Love brother Kavika. My dad would say, "How come you guys go to the beach and don't come home with food? He'd rather we went diving." I know, right? And by the way, Kavika, Imua, Kula Ivi, man, those guys are that power group with Lehua and with Sean, and they on tour often. And Kavika plays often. What an amazing talent there, brother Kavika. Bug
Beautiful
is
person with beautiful music.
ah, he's
Love you, Kavika.
he's a monster. We love you, brother. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you go to Puno. Come time for graduate, and what you wanted to be when you was going to grow up? Did you have anything in mind, or what did your parents want? Normally, the parents can tell you what you want, but
Well, back then, everybody in the graduating class went college. I mean,
ah,
it was unquestionable. Everybody went. And I don't know how I ended up in Whittier College in California, but somehow I guess that was one of the ones that accepted me, my application. And so, that like September, I guess I went mainland, and my mother's brother lived in Anaheim, um, actually Cerritos, which was not that far from Whittier, and they picked me up at the airport, and it's my first time leave Hawaii and go a big island, go California, mainland, and it was big, and I was kind of out of place, but I had family over there, and then he took me up to the college, and I was living in the dorm, and that was it. I thought, okay, I'm gonna be one architect when I grow up, and
one
that was what
architect.
my major was. And I don't know, something happened that first year in college, 1966, 67, and the music and especially the surfing. The surf scene in California in the 60s. I mean, it really started to get big there, and there was all the music. I mean, the surf music, Beach Boys and
Yeah.
movies, Gidget and things made surfing really grow there, and it was quite a sport. And I got swept up in it, and I started going surfing in California. The water was a little cold. Never have a wetsuit back then, but you know, you get long boards, so you just knee paddle and try not to get wet. And by the end of that school year, all I could think about was going back to Hawaii, I'll go UH, and I'm going surfing. And that was, that really the turning point in my life. And never been the same since. I never became the architect I was supposed to.
You have never recovered from that.
Never
uh,
did.
love you, brother Kavika. Thank you, brother, so much. So Newport Beach. You met these Ramses. They had like a surf shop, and all of a sudden you found yourself on their team. Um,
Yeah.
just kind of
Well, there
swept
was
up.
a surf shop called Ramsey J Surfboards, and these two Holly guys, but they had a model surfboard called the Savage Special.
Ooh,
And this was a surfboard for Stanley Parks from Nanakuli, who was a surfer I, really admired. I mean, he had a beautiful style, and um, I wanted to have one of his boards. So it was my senior year in high school, and I ordered the board. It took like 6 months to get the board, but finally I got them, and um, then I had to go college, so I left the board at home and went school. Was serious about going to school, but then one day I told my uncle, because he would come pick me up on the weekends. Hey, let's go down to this shop, and because I kind of know those guys. I mean, I never met them, but I had one of their surfboards, and so we went down there, and the guys, it's, oh, big aloha welcome, hey, oh, yeah, pick any board in the shop you like,
wow.
you want team riders, and I went, huh? What do you mean? And they go, yeah, yeah, we want you to ride our board, and I go, oh, I don't know money. They go, no, 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 you just take one, just use them. And if you don't like them, then bring them back and take another one. And I went, wow, nobody ever did that before. Shoot. And
Shoots.
so I had one surfboard, and then that was it. I
That
started
was
going
it.
surfing. Oh
Wow.
boy, that
Wow.
was it
Wow.
for my architect career. That was wow.
Here's Abella. Aloha, Bella. Aloha Friday, she says. She's a beautiful hula dancer, a great friend and supporter of the
Oh,
Summer Island Network. Yes, 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 yes. Here's C. Honda says, a question from a non surfer. Difference between waves in California and Oahu. What the difference? Good question. Thank you, C.
cold water.
Go.
Yeah, especially when you come from Hawaii, never have wetsuits back then. So
Hmm.
at first, go, ooh, the water cold. But back then, the surfboards were big, and when you knee paddle, you don't get wet so much. So that's why you try and stay dry, keep your hair dry.
Yeah, yeah. The short boards now, you're sitting up to your waist in water, and it's unless you have
Yeah.
a, yeah, 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 yeah. And in most areas, are the waters in the islands are were a lot cleaner, man. I like it when you can sit in the water and look down and you can see the reef below you, whatever's. In California, you look down, it's all cloudy, and you don't know what's down there. So, yeah. So okay. So now you kind of drop out of college because you're going to take a different path. How did your parents feel about that?
Well, they weren't happy, this was 1967. So my father, he said, hey, Lolo, at a war in Vietnam, you're going to get drafted. And I went, nah, I like surf. And, you know, anyway, I did get my draft notice in 1967, and I went, to take the physical. I was right down there, Fort DeRussy, and all my friends, they were all, okay, we'll put on girl panties and perfume, pretend we gay, or they'll drink one whole gallon shoyu, or all kinds of stupid stuff, or try to get out of the draft. And I just went, nah, I just, I'm going. I don't know where I'm going in life at this point, and so I just going with the flow here, and see what happens. If I'm not going to enlist because that's for 3 years. And if I get drafted, that's only 2 years. So I thought, okay, well, that's part of being part of the United States. You got to do this or else. I wasn't going to run away to Canada or anything like that. So
Right.
I went down there and, they had the test and they said, well, you know, did you ever have any of these, things? And I went, oh yeah, I didn't remember, but, they told me I had asthma when I was small. So I marked that down. And then they would ask who the doctor, my, uh, family doctor was. So I'd write his name and, and then pow, I went home and I don't know, it was like maybe 1 month later, I got the draft card and it said 1Y. And I went, what is that? My dad goes, oh, that's a temporary deferment. And I went, I don't know why. I think I went past the test. And, and then, you know, maybe 1 month later, the other draft card came and said 4F.
Oh.
And I went, wow, that means they don't like me. And, oh, I guess I'm not going Vietnam.
I guess not. Uh,
It wasn't until, and I was, then I went, oh, I better get serious about school again. So I was back in UH, and I remember it was a couple years later, I was walking across the campus, and I seen, I had one big demonstration because back then, the war in Vietnam was really unpopular with, especially with the young people, And I remember I had this guy kind of looked familiar, but he had long hair and he had the megaphone and he was, talking to the big crowd, telling them about how bad the war was. And,
yeah.
it was a big anti-war protest. And, I never take part in any of that. But then I had to pass by to go to my car. And I looked and I went, hey, that's my doctor. And he got long hair now, and because, like, I mean, his children were, his daughter was my classmate, and
Ah.
his older daughter was my sister's classmate, and then, he had younger kids too. And I went, wow, look at him. He got long hair, man, all the way down to his shoulders. And, when he was my doctor, he was like short hair, straight kind. And I went, wow. And then I thought about that after a while. And I went, okay, he's leading the anti-war protest. Probably when the army would call him up, and ask him, what about this patient of yours, that had asked, probably would say something, yeah, that guy no good for your army. And, years later, I ran into his kids, we were all older, grown up, and I told them that story, and they go, yeah, he went through that period where he grew his hair long, and he was really against the war. And so, that's what happened.
Oh my goodness. Here's Charles there, Charlie. Kupahu say, oh, Aloha Friday. Good to see you, Charlie. Thanks for dropping in, brah. That's one Nanakuli boy right there.
Hey,
And see Honda
probably
saying,
no Stanley Parks.
probably. See Honda says, get surf team at UH. I think by now they probably do have a surf team. But back in the day, I don't think so, right? It wasn't really
I have back then.
recognized as an organized sport. So, at what point, Jerry, as we move forward now, you know, lightning bolt is in your future. I mean, so you're moving in that direction. How did you evolve there, man, from just and getting more serious? You're entering surf contests. What's going on?
Well, pretty much it was, the surfboard designs were changing. The boards were starting to get shorter. And I was actually fortunate to have one of the first short boards that Dick Brewer made. And, we ended up later calling that style of board the minigun. But it was the beginning of the transition from the long 9, 10-foot surfboards to the shorter, 7, 8 foot boards. And that board never lasts that long because, everybody wanted to try them because it was such a different shape and design. So the thing got bust up pretty bad. And then I was thinking, wow, I better get one new one. And, I tried to get Brewer make me another one, but he was too busy. And um, he had all these like top team riders and all those guys wanted boards, and I was like low man on the list. So another friend, Buddy Dunphy, he goes, "Hey, let's just make our own boards." And I go, "Oh, we don't know how." He goes, "What, you watched them make this board when they made it?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you remember, huh?" And I went, "Oh,
Yeah.
maybe. I guess so." So we went, "Well, okay." So we took our old longboards and we stripped the fiberglass off. And
Wow.
then he went first on, right in, they lived up St. Louis Heights. And right outside on the sidewalk, on the sawhorses in front of his house, we shaped the board. The trade winds blow the foam dust all over the place. And he would make his, and then I would shape mine. And then after we would glass them, the man at Fiberglass Hawaii, he was really helpful, Ken Culler, and he told us, how much materials we needed to buy, and it cost like $15 each, for buying materials to
Mm.
glass the board. And so we glassed the boards, and then took them down Ala Moana, went surfing the first day, and whoo, the boards, wow, because mine was 7.6, and I think his was about the same too. And they a board, no one had rode a board that short before, and so the thing really worked good, compared to the old ones. Wow, this is really one good board. And he rode his first wave, and I told him, wow, oh, this is great. And he go, yeah, mine too. And then, after we pow surfed, then I was paddling in, and then, this Ala Moana paddle up to the wall and climb up, by the boats. And my friend, another friend was over there, and he had money in his hand. He goes, "Hey, I like that board." And I look at him, and I look at the board, and I look at the money, and I go, "How much money that?" He goes, $80. I go, "Yeah." And I thought about, wow, this board only costs $15. I take the money and give him the board. After that, I was in the surfboard business, bro.
There you go, right there, man, right there in Kewalo Basin. When you came up from that board, oh, that's great, man. That's a great story, man. So, uh, going forward, you lightning bolt. Where did that come from? Lightning bolt, because that is a brand that is now global, and everybody that knows anything about surfing, when you say lightning bolt, boom, they light up to lightning bolt. What's the
Well,
story?
me and my friend Jack Shipley, we were working for Surfline Hawaii for Fred Swartz, and he was on tough boss. I tell you that, bro. He everything had to be his way, and um, you know, the first surf shop in Hawaii was the Hobie shop that
Mm,
Dick Metz started in the early '60s, and um, he had ended up selling it to another guy, and then because that was that period when the surfboards were transitioning, from the longer boards to the shorter ones, all of a sudden, I don't know, there was like a little bit of a recession in the surfboard industry. I don't know if there was actually a general economic recession at the time. I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention. But the long surfboards were difficult to sell. So the Hobie shop was, they were kind of on the ropes, and the guy wanted to sell the shop, and so Jack and I, talked about it, and he goes, yeah, let's just go start our own shop. And I went, oh, okay. I don't know. He goes, but I'll sell the boards. You just make them. And I go, oh, okay. And a little bit nervous, and And then, we started talking more and more about it. And then, well, we got to have a name for the shop. And, we were sitting there at his house scratching our heads. And then his wife, Marianne, was in the kitchen and she was listening to us, and she goes, why don't you guys call it Lightning Bolt? And we went, oh, why not? And we, so we named the shop. We went to the lawyer, it was David Shutter back then. He was just starting out as a lawyer, and he was right down the street. And so we went go see him, and he goes, "Yeah, okay, we'll make a corporation," and we called it Lightning Bolt Unlimited Surf Company Incorporated. And so we had one name for the shop, and then when we started the shop, the guys would call on the telephone, and we answered Lightning Bolt, and they would hang up, because then I go, hey, you got to answer the phone. It's a surfboard's Lightning Bolt, so they
Uh,
know they calling one surfboard shop because, when you say Lightning Bolt, they don't know what that is. They think that's on
right,
electric
right.
supplies or something. And, but, it was, I don't know, just a matter of being in the right place at the right time, I guess,
Yeah.
because, that was the surfboards were changing and, we were the big shops couldn't keep up, with the changes in the surfboard designs. And because we were, surfing every day, I mean, we knew, and everybody wanted our boards. So, we had some pretty good success.
Now, Surfline Hawaii comes into view around 1970 or so. That really was an arc that kind of took Lightning Bolt in a whole different bunch of different directions you never thought about. What lessons did you learn from working with Surfline Hawaii?
Well, that's where Jack and I started with the surfboard side of Surfline Hawaii. And the first guy to really start that shop, well, it was actually Dick Metz, but it's Dick Metz and Dave Rockland. And Dick Metz ran the Hobie shop, which was the first surf shop in Honolulu. And then Dave Rockland started the um, Surfline Hawaii because all the other big manufacturers in California, they were looking at the success of the Hobie shop in Hawaii. And, Dick Metz was worried that they were going to come over and start another shop, and give him too much competition. So he had the idea, him and Dave Rockland, that they would go to California and talk to all the other manufacturers, Gordon and Smith, Jacobs, Bing, what were the other ones? Dewey Weber, Greg Knoll, Yater in Santa Barbara. These were all the other big manufacturers in California. And he said that he would start a shop and he would carry 10 each of their boards. And as soon as he sold one, he'd order another one. And, he made it sound so good to these other surfboard companies in California that they went, oh, that's better than having to go over there and start a whole shop of our own. So Dave Rockland ran that shop and it was very successful. And then he started getting into making the Jams uh, clothing, with those beautiful wild colors. And at one point, they overproduced like too many bikini tops for the bottoms. And so he had this whole box of, I don't know, 100 or 200 extra bikini tops. And he had this idea because Dave Rockland was really a out of the box thinker.
Yeah.
And he went, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send this to Johnny Carson.
Oh,
And so he sent this whole box of, bikini tops to Johnny Carson. All these beautiful aloha print patterns, and every night for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, Johnny Carson would get on the show, and at one point he would go, I got this box from this guy in Hawaii, and look at this stuff, and he, pull out a bikini top and he gave one to one of his guests, and they put on this Surfline Hawaii bikini top, the Jams bikini top. And so, Dave Rockland got this tremendous advertising out of that. So he became very successful, and that's when he split off um, and started, focusing more on the clothes.
Yeah.
And at one point, I think it was about 1972, actually. He came to me, because we were friends, and he was always kind of took me under his wing. He's worried about me, just, with the surf shop. He goes, "Come and work for me, and I want to teach you some things that you need to know." And it was 2 years I worked there at Surfline for him, learning the clothing business, which was really great training, and even more than the clothing business. I mean, just, the life lessons that Dave Rockland told me were so important, and I think I remember one of the greatest lessons was allowing myself the freedom to fail,
Oh,
because I used to get so frustrated with myself at, many things. But, he was very calm, he goes, "Gerry, you have to allow yourself the freedom to fail, because you're not going to win every time. And when you do that, then you calm down, and you'll figure out how to move forward." And it was a life lesson that's
whew.
carried,
Yeah.
since.
Gerry, we're going to take a break right now, and we're going to come back. I want to talk more about the people that you cross paths with in your life, the influence they've had on you, lessons, examples that you carry with you even down till today. We're going to take a couple of breaks right now. If you just joined us, we're so blessed to be able to talk story with Gerry Lopez today on the Aloha Friday show. We will be right back. Hang in there, gang.
Intently studying Sutherland's approach to pipeline was a young surfer from Honolulu named Gerry Lopez.
When I first tried surfing the pipeline, it was back in '63 or so. I think I was a sophomore in high school. I don't think I made one single drop. Jock paddled out, watching us flounder. He gave us some tips, and he told me, when you take off, angle a little on the takeoff. That was like really a breakthrough tip.
Lopez took Sutherland's advice, returning to his home break of Ala Moana on the South Shore to hone his tube riding technique.
He was a town kid and went to high school, Punahou, and so Ala Moana was kind of his breeding ground.
What he did is he developed a down-railed surfboard with a tucked-under edge that allowed him to ride higher and tighter in the curl, which was a big deal. At the same time, he developed a style on that board where he sort of would drop in and turn in the middle of the face, where before he couldn't on the softer railed board, and he would drive right through the center of the tube and come out. And so with those two innovations, he really could start getting his pipeline act together.
Few could have predicted that this surfer riding this wave would change the entire direction of the sport, establishing what the collective surfing world would come to consider the ultimate ride.
Gerry was very smooth and very casual. Ironically, by other standards, he was considered kind of a little too slow and a little too smooth. And coming out here to Pipeline, where everybody else was like holding on and just trying to make the wave, all of a sudden here's this guy who takes off and very casually, nonchalantly pulls into the barrel, completely disappears, comes out and just kind of...
He wasn't like torqued out with veins popping out. He just slump and do this casual bottom turn and then stand there like a bullfighter and get pitted and then spit out and then just do the zen and go floating out under the shoulders. Paddled out and the peak at pipe was his. So he got to pick and choose and analyze and had an understanding of the wave that was pretty hard to do nowadays.
could never overpower a pipeline. So what Gerry figured out is that it was going to take something more than power or even more than performance. It was going to take emotion.
At one time, I really felt like I was really close to it, and I really had some kind of spiritual relationship going with the place. Waves would come to me where I didn't really have to do anything. They would just come to me and they would be real easy to catch.
You go, oh my God, look at his knowledge. He picks the right wave every time. Nowadays, you go shoot photos and there's so-and-so's out, so-and-so. You can just set up and start shooting because there's so many surf stars now. In those days, the show was Gerry.
He was pipeline. Okay, when he took off on a wave, he became the wave.
One day I said, do you practice in front of a mirror doing your thing?
It wasn't so much that he did unbelievable maneuvers, it was just that what he did was just so beautiful.
Gerry was an artist, and his canvas was the pipeline, and he was by far and away the best at riding those waves, and that was his genius.
I reached a level of understanding with the wave to where suddenly, instead of becoming an adversarial kind of relationship, it was something that was really friendly.
And he always put his hand up the top of the wave and tickle his hand up in the side of the wave like that, you know?
He stroked her cheek. There was foreplay involved, and so she opened up.
I don't know, she was nasty at times, but she was so beautiful.
I'm Gerry Lopez. I'm 73 years old, and I've been surfing since I was 10 years old. So that's 63 years.
Gerry's usually out here for 6 to 8 hours a day, and he'll barely come in to get something to drink. He's in the water all day.
What are my hopes? Well, I get up every day and still able to paddle out on my surfboard. Pretty simple. You know, one time it took a wave like the pipeline to get me off, but now I can ride a little 2-foot wave. It still makes me feel pretty good. And that's, to me, is kind of a wonderful thing that expounds on the whole subject of what is it about surfing that feels so good, that makes you feel so good. You know, it's just being able to feel that energy. One's more, the other's less, but it's still the same energy. And it still makes you feel good. Generally, I wake up long before the sun comes up, so I can get at least a couple hours of yoga in. We moved down here initially because we like kiteboarding, and it was windy in the winter. And then I rediscovered the surf down here, and once I did that, that was all I needed to do.
Every time I go out in the ocean, I'm just trying to be with whatever conditions the ocean is offering, whether it's small waves, big waves, windy waves, whatever. I'm just there for whatever it wants to give me. So at this point in my life, it doesn't matter what the conditions are like. It's about the surfing. And you go out there and you connect with the energy. You're just being a part of that wave. And to me, that's the beauty of it.
I think I always have tried to be on friendly terms with the ocean, and I think that's certainly helped me with my surfing.
I'm trying to be friends with the waves, and I think at the pipeline I achieved that. I had a friendly relationship with a wave that was not very friendly to a lot of people.
Surfing is a great gift. And when you're able to share that gift, share that happiness, I think that's when you really find the true goal, the true meaning of life.
I want to help this guy. Listo?
I think I've always found, and I think most surfers at some point in their careers find that helping someone who's struggling is infinitely more satisfying than just riding waves on your own.
People show up and they're just beginners. What he'll do is he'll just tell them how to time it, and then he'll push them down into the wave. You know, it's all about having a good time here in the ocean.
Hey, Judd. Crew that I visited with, we call it Church of Gerry. He's so gracious and humble and helps us, giving us little nuggets of advice on how to surf better. And when you go in, you always feel better surfing with him. Thank you.
Redemption is here in every wave.
The thing about surfing that's so wonderful is that a little bit of it goes a long way. You know, on some days it's maybe just one turn that you do, or one little section that you get on a wave, or maybe it doesn't even have anything to do with riding the waves. Maybe it's just the sight of a particular wave, and you take that with you for the rest of the day, sometimes for the rest of the week, sometimes for the rest of the month. I think that's what everybody needs, just have something to feel good about.
Oh my goodness. kind of lost for words. That's just beautiful. Your so the Church of Gerry out there, the Church of Gerry out there in the water. Um, where did that come from, Gerry? When we talk about just that willingness to share and just a style that just goes above just the sport or the art of surfing, you kind of taken it to a whole different level. And where did that come from, Gerry?
Well, I think it's been there forever, but for me, it came from the Duke. I mean, all the history of him, like traveling to Australia, and when was it? Like 1915 or something, and um, he was in Sydney for some swimming exhibition, and he he saw some really nice waves, and so he tracked down a big piece of pine lumber, made himself a surfboard, which they still have today,
Wow.
and in front of a pretty big crowd at Freshwater Beach, which is just around the corner from Manly, right there in Sydney. He went out and he gave a surfing exhibition, and the reason he did it was because he always felt that surfing was something to should be shared, because it was such a beautiful thing and it was such a personally rewarding thing that um, and you find, I think most surfers at some point, when they're helping maybe their friend or someone that needs help in the surf, will find that to be so tremendously satisfying. And that's a special part about surfing. At first, all you want to do is you want to get better at it. And then, you want to catch as many waves as you can. And, it's a little bit of a selfish endeavor, because surfing doesn't take just some of your time. It takes all of it,
Sure. Yeah.
At some point in your life, that's all you want to do. And, to at the expense of, family, friends, employment, all that stuff,
Sure.
that surfing really starts to come first. And then the longer you do it, the more you realize that there's really a lot of great life lessons that you don't even realize you're learning until at some point back on the beach, maybe dealing with some kind of adverse situation, you realize, oh, this is just like getting caught inside, And if it's a bad situation, wow, this is like a big set catching me inside. And you understand that, you kind of develop some skills for dealing with that situation. You can give up and get washed back to the beach, in which case you have to start all over. You can panic, which is even worse. Um, or you keep paddling, in a not only a literal sense, but a figurative sense as well. And you just, you keep going, you try and hold position, and after the set passes, there's a lull, and then you go, okay, now, I got a chance to make a break. And these kinds of lessons keep reoccurring in surfing, and they're really wonderful, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
them you have to relearn over and over again, before they finally hit home.
Surfing is life. um, Gerry, throughout history of surfing, I mean, so many greatly admired surfers going back, as you've mentioned, Duke Kahanamoku, Fred Hemmings, George Downing. We talked about this gentleman over here. Tell me about
Yes.
tell me about
Yeah.
this gentleman right here, who he is and how he affected you.
This is Paul Stroud. He was, I think, about 5 years ahead of me at Punahou, and he was already what we called a name, back in Hawaii. He was well known, and our world of surfing was pretty much just Hawaii. I mean, Surfer Magazine had just come out, the first issue in 1960, and it wasn't until the next year that it started to come out on a quarterly basis. And Paul was well recognized by all surfers in Hawaii, especially the ones of my generation, because he had such a beautiful and graceful and elegant style of riding a wave, that you just, even the old guys, I remember, he'd take off on a wave and everybody would just stop and look. Wow, look at that, and it was a thing of beauty. And he was like that on the beach too, I mean, he was just had so much grace. And I wanted to be a surfer like him, and later on, we became friends and we did a few things together. And I realized that this is really a special person. And he was a tremendous influence, not only on myself, but really most of the surfers of my generation in Hawaii. Everybody, and even though, like I said, the older guys, looked up to him. Wow.
Yeah. Now you have an opportunity to kind of pay it forward over here, and kind of acknowledgement of Paul coming up in a couple of weeks, right? Right here in California.
Yes, we do. He's being honored because he was one of the members of the Duke Kahanamoku surf team. And I have the great privilege of introducing him, to receive his honor there. And he's such a great person. And it's really, I mean, it almost brings me to tears every time I think about him and the effect that he had on me and my surfing.
Yeah. So this picture over here, Gerry, on the far left is Paul in his very cool jams over there. Who are the other surfers that are there as part of the Duke Kahanamoku team?
That's Joey Cabell next to him, and then of course Duke, looking beautiful right there with his carnation lei, and then Freddie Hemmings and the original Mr. Pipeline, Butch Van Aertstalen.
Wow.
These are all surfers that I, looked up to growing up. And Freddie, of course, was only a year ahead of me in high school. He was your age, so,
Yeah.
class of 65. And yeah.
Yeah. So my goodness, what a journey, life lessons of beautiful people that have crossed your paths over. And along the way, you were also in some movies as well, right? I mean, in fact, oh my goodness, here is a high school buddy of mine. We both went to Roosevelt. Same year, Keone Young. What's up, brother Keone? Keone is an actor. He does voiceovers, great friend, still doing wonderful work. If you ever look up Keone Young, his resume, and reads like crazy over the past 40, 50 years. He says, Mako used to tell me about him on Conan the Barbarian. Jim Melisius, the director, was a big surfing fan and brought Gerry on. So you were. Let me see. I think I have a couple things over here. This is Conan the Barbarian, huh?
Well, that was
what was that?
Kind of a fun picture I made with Ben Davidson, who was in the movie. Ben Davidson was a terrific defensive end for the Oakland Raiders, and he had a movie career too. So I thought, I would dress like a geek, pretend like I was a tourist taking pictures, and then have him behind me swinging that big axe at me.
And this one.
Yeah, this was another movie I did with John Milius called Farewell to the King with Nick Nolte.
Wow.
And I played a headhunter chief in Borneo.
Fun. I love it that you've connected, and many of the things that we've talked about connected as we come near the close of our time together here, Gerry, connected with lifestyle, in your journey, surfing has been kind of the common denominator in so many things that you have done, but you've built on top of that as a way of life and a way of thinking. Yoga has been part of that for so many years. Speak to that in terms of the life lessons for you and things that you use going forward.
Well, I was fortunate that yoga came into my life while I was going to the UH in 1968 and has been a part of my life since then. And, for the longest time, I thought that yoga and surfing, the reason I got into yoga was because I thought it would help make me a better surfer. And I think it has. But I always thought that yoga and surfing were parallel paths, and lately I've been thinking that maybe they're actually the same path, the path to enlightenment, and that maybe the Hawaiian brothers back in the day when they were surfing, were way ahead of all of us because, the word mana means exactly the same thing as the yogi word prana. And this is the energy, the spiritual energy that animates all of life. And, the only way to surf successfully is to put your mind into that deep meditative state, where you're not distracted by thinking about, oh, did I leave the keys in the car, or did I leave the water run in the yard? You have to go into that meditative state. And in yoga meditation, to reach that same exact state requires a lot of time and effort and serious concentration. On surfing, as soon as you stand up on the wave, either you go into that state or you go wipe out and swim after you're bored. So there was really a lot of certain, strong parallels between the two. And I went, wow, man, those old Hawaiians, they really had it going. They were onto something, way before us. And this is, a theory that I'm pursuing at this point because I'd like to reach that state of enlightenment, that, state of samadhi.
Samadhi. Wow. Yeah, Stan Tashiro says, hey, Stan, we know about stories with keys left in the car. Yeah, which is true. Kind of think about that when you're on the wave. I wanted to share just one last clip over here that I thought was just excellent. If I can, right now, I'm just going to jump right into this, and here it is.
As surfers, we really are our own tribe. And as surfers, we learn a lot of lessons from the surf, from the ocean, that we bring back with us to the beach to live our lives. And in fact, many of the greatest lessons have more to do with life than they do with the surf. And one of the biggest lessons that we relearn over and over again is when we're out in the waves and for whatever reason we're not paying attention, or we're talking in the lineup, or we're just simply out of position, a set may come and we may get caught inside. But we have choices at that moment. We can give up, we can get washed back to the beach by the set, we can panic. Neither of those choices really do much good. What we do learn, all surfers learn, is that at that moment you can keep paddling. You may take a pounding, you may get beat up, you may get held underwater, but if you keep paddling, you're able to hold your position rather than get washed back to the beach. After the set, there's always followed a moment of calmness. A lull is what it's called in surfing. And if we've kept paddling and held our position, when that lull comes, when that moment of calm comes, then we can make our move to regain our position in the lineup. And this is one of the greatest lessons of adversity in life, that, you know, problems, sicknesses, ill health, tragedies, they seem to happen in sets. You know, they seem to happen all at once. But from surfing, we learned that after that, there's always a period of calm. And it's in those periods of calm that we can rebuild our lives, we can regain our position, we can come back to where we were. And we have to...
I'm loving that. I'm loving that. Those parallels are amazing. Got a chicken skin there, Gerry, just to hear those parallels. And thank you so much for sharing that, Gerry. It is the way of aloha, isn't it? To accept and to be able to know that we do have choices whenever we're faced with any kind of adversities or decisions to make them calmly, to make them with an awareness of what's going on around us. All of that are wonderful lessons that we share right now. In fact, I'm smiling here because of some of the comments that are coming in over here. Abella says, "A path to enlightenment, mana, ocean waves, moments of calm, lessons learned. Love this. Mahalo and aloha, Gerry and Kamaka. Have a great weekend." Ooh, that's chicken skin, Abella. Ooh. Oh, that is so wonderful. See, Honda says, "Mahalo nui loa to Gerry and to Kamaka." So nice.
Yeah.
Here's Debbie says, "I think I need to look into yoga. Thank you, Gerry." Yes. Yes.
Never
yes,
too
yes.
late for yoga.
Never too late. Yeah, so many wonderful comments coming through here for our friends. And if I missed those comments, e kalamai, but we appreciate you coming and commenting on our virtual pa'ina over here with Gerry Lopez. I know you're living in Bend, Oregon now, and many folks have asked you why you've moved to Bend, Oregon, and some of the wonderful opportunities that opened up never before you would ever think about that. From designing surfboards, you're now into snowboard design. Your son is also, Alex, is also designing surfboards, making snowboards in Bend. Is this true?
Well, he surfboards in California, in Oceanside.
Oh, Oceanside, okay.
Become a very successful surfboard shaper.
Wow.
You know, he got plenty of work now. So
I wonder where that came from.
Well, the work ethic came from his mother, not from me.
I don't think you're a lazy bugger, brother. You have an amazing track record of just wonderful accomplishments, and it's a beautiful thing. We definitely enjoyed spending some time with you. In fact, our talent coordinator and production assistant over here said Nate Jones. Brother Nate, a Kaneohe native, now living in Southern California. He is our production assistant and talent coordinator. And he goes, "Mahalo for coming on the show. Hope to link up with you next time I roll through Bend." Yeah, Nate be giving you a buzz, and maybe some tips on if it's snowing on snowboarding over there. Never can tell. Well,
Thank you, brother Nate.
Oh.
Yeah, he was really instrumental in coordinating everything with me, so you and I could get together like this. And thank you so much, Kamaka. I really enjoyed.
A pleasure. We really, like I said, the onus is on the other slip over here. We're so grateful to you, and we do hope that, listen, the door to the Holly over here at the Aloha Friday video podcast is always open. Invite you anytime. Come back and visit and share more stories. We didn't even talk about a lot of stories. The hour went by so quick over here. This guy's just potting out. Yeah.
Went too fast. Yeah. All right, we do them again then.
Yes, definitely. You know what? 2024 is coming. The new year is upon us and stuff. And let's get together in 2024 and share more mo'olelo, more stories, more of your adventures there, because your adventures going and discovering surf in Asia and in different places that people never even thought about it. Now people go to it and they flock to it, but you were pioneering in places that people never even heard of surfing. You saw the waves, and I'd love to hear those stories and your adventures as well. So Nate will be in touch, man.
Okay, we'll do them again.
Do them again.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Okay, so Brother Gerry is going to go back to the green room. I still get a few sushi platters. Still some sushi left, I think, over there in the green room. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on the Aloha Friday with the Sandwich Island Social Network. Good fun, man. Always, always, always fun. Thank you so much for dropping in, everybody. Have a great weekend. If you're coming out to see Makaha-san's, please say hello. I'm going to MC the show tonight. So come and say aloha. How's it? And mahalo for your support, making all of this happen for us. We absolutely love all of you. God bless. You guys hang in there, and we'll spock you soon. Mahalo, everybody.